Hey there, Taurus. Welcome to your reading for the week of October 6th. This week, we are going to jump right in here. You have this Fork in the Road card and this Regeneration card. Yeah, really good week for healing. And, this has come up for almost everybody so far. So I would definitely take time to heal with that Regeneration card. You could have a choice to make, although, again, whenever I see the Ace of Swords, to me, that's kind of like a card that says you've already made up your mind. And so some of you might be just, it's kind of like you are making the final decision on something in your life this week. And, you could be picking a direction. Usually with the Ace of Swords, it's a good card, of course, but usually we have to cut something out to have something better with the card. So, again, a lot of you, I feel, could be like removing things that no longer serve you or making a decision. And, obviously that would be a good thing. We go to the Wheel of Fortune, which is good as well. So looks pretty good, Taurus. You start here in your current general energies with the King of Swords, the Page of Pentacles, and the Ace of Swords. The King of Swords is decisiveness, and the Ace of Swords is also very similar, can be a very decisive energy. And so, again, I think some of you are making like a final decision this week to make a change in your life. The King of Swords could be a person that's helping you as well. So, the King of Swords can be a card of like the mentor or a person who can help you. And so if you need help making a decision, this can, if you have anyone in your life that you consider to be like a mentor or, someone that, gives you good counsel or whatever you want to call it, could be any gender. I feel the King of Swords, could be good for engaging with people who give you good ideas, right? And I would definitely do that. I also, by the way, King of Swords and the Ace of Swords, like Law and Order. So a lot of you, I don't really feel this, but I'm just throwing this out there. Whenever I see those two cards, if you're involved in anything legal, or, even if you're thinking of doing legal work, like anything, like setting up a business, signing a contract, whatever, very good energy for that. You have the Page of Pentacles, which can represent something new coming in for you. The Page of Pentacles can be communication. It can be, studiousness or learning. But I really feel that you are feeling, it's like you're using your creative energy this week, which we're going to talk about in your next row. You have this Call of the Muse card, and that Call of the Muse card, I guess we'll talk about it right now, Taurus. But that card can represent creative urges. It's like you have the urge to create something new or, create some sort of change in your life. And the Page of Pentacles is also a good card for doing that. Again, he's a card of learning. I also feel that a lot of you are kind of being triggered to improve your finances, for lack of a better term. Next month, especially when Uranus moves back into your sign, you're definitely going to feel it. You're going to feel a strong urge to, make your financial situation better. We don't really consider Uranus and Taurus to be financial, but, as I've been saying to you since Uranus went to Taurus, Uranus and Taurus is freedom. So anything that could make you feel more free or that could make you feel like you can do the things you want to do without restriction is probably what you're going to be focusing on. So, that makes sense. You have the Ace of Swords. Ace of Swords can be a victory or big success coming in for you here. I think this is decisive action is really what I want to say about this first row. I feel with the Wheel of Fortune, it's like with the Wheel of Fortune, we have to get the wheel to spin in the right direction. So, hopefully forward is the direction you want that to spin in. And then we go to the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands is a card of kind of cementing your reality in some ways. He is defending his position at the top of the hill, but he could also be making a decision to defend his current reality. But again, I think if you are making a change and doing something better with your life, that is the reality that you are protecting with that Seven of Wands. And sorry, I hit that button. That's what you're doing, and I feel that you are kind of like making something more of a sure thing in your life or whatever. So, again, I think that creativity, which we'll talk about in the next row, is maybe how you could be cementing a new reality, and that would probably be good. Let's see. With the King of Swords, you have the Queen of Pentacles here. Yeah, really, again, I feel that a lot of you are making these changes for money. Queen of Pentacles is the card of resourcefulness. But maybe she wants more resources, or maybe she wants something so she can improve her resources or increase her resources. So like I said, I just feel like you are trying to improve your resources or increase your resources. with the Queen of Pentacles. And, again, it's a really good time for you to do that in the first place. With the Page of Pentacles, you have the Knight of Swords. You start and end this row with the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords can be being too hasty, making decisions too quickly. So I always say with the Knight of Swords that we should slow down on our decision making. The other thing is that the Knight of Swords, sometimes he's running to the next card in the reading, and then he's running away. And so I feel like the Knight of Swords is basically saying, don't run away from new opportunities that could potentially set you free or could potentially change your fortunes with the Wheel of Fortune. It's sometimes I think we can't do something, but we really can't. And, this is saying to me that you need to believe in yourself more. With the Ace of Swords, you have two cards. You have the Lovers and the Page of Cups here. So some of you could be attracting love, obviously. The Ace of Swords can be a truth. This could be an admirer telling you that they're interested or something like that. The Page of Cups is also dreaming, and also the Lovers is usually can represent a choice. So this whole entire time, we've been talking about decisiveness. At least your first row definitely represents being decisive this week and making a decision. So I don't really feel that this has to be love for you, Taurus. For most of you, I think it's not. I feel that this is talking about you deciding to, make something a reality. That Page of Cups, he has that fish in the cup, and we don't know if that fish is real or not. Some people say it's real, some people say it's not, some people say it's part of his dream or something he's dreaming about. But I always say he needs to grab onto that fish and bring it down to earth to make it a reality. And, I feel like that's what you're doing here. Going up to that Seven of Wands is you're making, some sort of change in your life more of a reality or just a better reality. And again, I think this is probably the best thing you could do right now, Taurus. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have the Sacred Reverence card and this Call of the Muse card. Yeah, the Call of the Muse card is the urge to create. It says that you have, and you start with the Queen of Wands, which is very similar. So a lot of you could be stepping into a very creative time, or you might just have the freedom to create more with Uranus going back into Taurus next month. Yeah, I know it's not there yet, but this is something that you will probably be able to take advantage of right now. That Sacred Reverence card is about following your heart, and it really just wouldn't be a Taurus reading without a card that says it's time to follow your heart, Taurus, right? So I feel a lot of you need, or you could be more in a heart-based energy where you have to do the things that you hold close to your chest, right? You have the Queen of Wands, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Nine of Swords. It's I feel like you're getting fired up here, Taurus, is really what I feel, which is kind of weird. I don't normally necessarily feel that on the Queen of Wands. Normally, I look at her as a card of needing to be bold, assertive, confident, but I don't know, I feel pretty good about this. I didn't feel that until I picked it up. So, I feel for a lot of you that you are feeling more fired up, or you're getting fired up. It does kind of make sense. We go down to the Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands is a very quick moving energy, and Eight of Wands is also fire. So I feel for a lot of you, that's all I got on this card. She is very creative, though, Taurus, and I would be tapping into that creative side. Any creative ideas or projects that you want to work on is a big yes from the Queen of Wands. You have the Wheel of Fortune. You show up on the Wheel of Fortune right here. So, again, you're kind of showing up in a powerful position. You do show up a couple times here. You show up as the Empress as well. So whenever you show up as yourself, it puts you in a position of power and strength. I do feel like there are some fears that you have to face. We have the snake on the side of the card here. Snakes are guardians of portals, and usually to get something we want in life, we have to cross through a portal. So it basically says that we have to face some sort of fear. Snakes represent fears. And so, if there are things that we want that we don't have, they're usually, not always true, but there usually is some sort of fear that is preventing us from having it. One of the easiest things to do to solve a fear is Page of Pentacles. Learn. Right? Usually we fear things we don't know. If we just learn about it, it removes the fear. The other interesting thing here is that we have the Eight of Cups right next to the Wheel of Fortune. And the Eight of Cups, he might be afraid. He is walking away from these 8 cups. I always say, I think the Eight of Cups, it should be, I think people should read it as more powerful than they usually do. Most people just read it as walking away, which is true. But he might be afraid because he is walking away from something that does provide him with a result. Those 8 cups, right? He is just hoping for a brighter future, but he has no clue what he's walking toward. So again, there might be some sort of fear for you to face this week, but I feel like it's a tiny little thing, and I feel if you overcome it, that clearly you're going to change your fortunes. You have the Nine of Swords, right? Things have to change. I almost feel like this is the thing that is getting you all fired up at this time, Taurus, because Nine of Swords is my card of Groundhog's Day. It's my card of just the same day over and over and over again, and eventually you get sick of it and you have to create a change, right? So I feel for a lot of you, like Nine of Swords is my least favorite card in the tarot, but what I would say is I do, like, in a way, feel good about it for you, because I do feel it's encouraging you to, take action, get moving, and I feel it could be like the catalyst that's, lighting this fire. So it's almost like you're getting all fired up here, Taurus. With the Queen of Wands, you have the Knight of Cups. Someone could find you attractive, for sure. Queen of Wands is the card of seduction. Empress is the card of being attractive, Taurus. Doesn't matter what gender you are either. And so, if you're looking for love, you definitely could be attracting a connection here with the Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups is about being swept off your feet. So if you are looking for love, again, this could be a person who really sweeps you off your feet here. You've been getting love a lot with me recently, so, it could just be the time where there's, like, love coming in for you here. Again, I also feel, if you don't want love, and even if you do, I get that fired up energy off the Queen of Wands. So you could be getting swept up by an idea or, something that you're working on. And I also think that's good. With the Wheel of Fortune, you have the Judgment card. I think you get a lot of judgment with me as well, I'm pretty sure. And judgment is about waking up to your purpose. Now, again, this will be really important as we move forward once Uranus moves into your sign. Again, I do feel like the universe is trying to get Taurus to be more free, to really figure out what their purpose is, and to remove any blockages from their past, especially like from your childhood. And so I feel that this is going to become, we're probably going to see this card for you a lot over the next year or so. Even though Uranus will move back into Gemini over the next year, it doesn't matter. I still feel this is going to be a continued theme for Taurus. And again, it's going to be, hopefully it's a good thing. These people, they are standing in their coffins. The coffin represents their old life. Outside the coffin is their new life. So they're being called to step in to their new life. And I feel a lot of you are clearly being called to step into something new. With the Nine of Swords, you have the Page of Pentacles. Again, like I said, the Page of Pentacles is studiousness. So the easiest way to overcome a fear is to learn about it. The other thing is, I kind of get like some of you might be like getting something that you just have given up on. I get this weird feeling, sometimes I think that happens in life where it's like we want something in life really bad and then we don't get it. So, but once we like finally release that and we release the need for something, we get it. I don't know. That is popping into my head for you, Taurus. Like it could be love, sure, but it could be money as well or something else. It's like sometimes I think when we do just surrender and we just say whatever, that's when we get the thing that we've been waiting for. So I do feel that for some of you. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this card that says, let it come forth. It says, give yourself permission to feel it. You have this, speak to yourself with kindness. It says, become aware of how you speak to yourself. Yeah, we end with the Eight of Wands. So, you have the two Page of Pentacles, which are also communicators. So being careful of the words that you use against yourself, speaking kindly to yourself, obviously, is going to be very important here with these two cards. So I would pay attention to your words for sure. I feel like that give yourself permission to feel it, or whatever it says, right? Yeah, it says give yourself permission to feel it. I feel this card is saying, like, you need to believe that good things can happen. And, when they do happen, don't immediately jump to the negative is kind of what's popping into my head here. You have the Seven of Wands, the Eight of Cups, and the Hangman. I really feel that this is saying you are trying to, lock in a reality. Seven of Wands, to me, has a lot of meanings. It can be the card of conviction. It says when you know that something is successful, it will be successful. It can be the card of defending your position at the top of the hill, of course. He could be also drawing boundaries in his life. But I get this more like locked in energy for you, Taurus, where you're saying like, it's like imagine if you have a dream to have a business. It's like you're saying to yourself, how can I make this last for the rest of my life? How can I lock it in? How can I make it real in the 3D? So that's like the best way I can describe how I feel. You're trying to set something up for the long term with the Seven of Wands, and that is very good. You have the Eight of Cups. Eight of Cups is about walking away from things that no longer serve you, of course. He's walking away from these Eight Cups. He has no clue where he is going. He is just hoping for a brighter future. The whole point of the Eight of Cups is that he has decided to not settle. If he were to stay in this situation with these Eight Cups, he would be settling. And so he's deciding to walk away so that he doesn't settle. And again, he doesn't know where he's walking. So again, some people say he's walking towards the Nine of Cups, but he doesn't know that. He is sending a signal to the universe like, hey, I'm not willing to settle on this universe. And I do feel some of you could be doing that, which can be scary. It's like, if you're in a relationship, for example, that isn't working, but you don't want to be alone. I see a lot of people that get stuck in those types of relationships, but you're telling the universe, this is what I deserve, right? And so the Eight of Cups says, what do you really think you deserve? There you go. I don't even know how that happens. My phone is not even on right now. So weird, but there's confirmation from the universe, right? And I feel this is saying, like, you need to decide to, kind of like what you want and then go for it, right? You have the Hangman. The Hangman is a card of seeing things from a new perspective. Again, Uranus and Gemini, we still have Uranus and Gemini this month, retrograde. So, this card normally represents Pisces, but, I've been saying this year that the Hangman really is kind of like Uranus and Gemini. It's very similar. Uranus and Gemini will bring in new perspectives. The Hangman is new perspectives. So we just need to embrace new ideas, new perspectives, creative inspiration with that Call of the Muse card. If we feel like we should be creative, right? And paying attention to that is going to probably help you move forward. I feel like you're coming off pause here, Taurus. I used to not really like the Hangman because he's like put himself in pause here, but he knows the answer. His head is glowing. He has enlightenment. But I do feel pretty good for you, Taurus. Like, you could be seeing things more clearly with that card. Here you go. With the Seven of Wands, you have the Eight of Wands. Yeah, I feel like you could very quickly be creating your own reality, like your own world, where you are locking the things in that you actually want in life. And I do feel very good about that. There's a ton of communication in this reading for you as well, Taurus. Knight of Swords twice, Page of Pentacles twice, Eight of Wands twice. All these communication cards. You actually have a lot of people showing up in this reading as well. So, you could be very popular this week. With the Eight of Cups, you have the Three of Pentacles. Boom. Taurus, are you kidding me? Like, literally putting your work on display. If you're getting some sort of urge to create something random, like out of nowhere with that Call of the Muse card, I would do it and show it off, because that's what the Three of Pentacles is. Down and dirty tarot, Three of Pentacles is about showing off, right? He is putting his work on display. These people are giving him credit for the work that he has done. It's also a card of quality work as well. So not only has he done the work, but he's done a good job. So I feel for a lot of you, this is saying you need to put your work on display. With the Hangman, you have the Knight of Wands. We see a lot of movement here. I said this in the October readings. Everybody had the Eight of Wands, and now and the Knight of Wands. Not everybody had the Knight of Wands, though. Just more Eight of Wands, and you have it twice here. That's why I'm saying that. And so there seems to be a lot of movement in the month of October, but that doesn't mean you're moving necessarily. It could just mean you're making moves, and so you might find yourself being very busy. I'm actually not getting much here. One thing I will say with the Knight of Wands is that we have to be willing to be spontaneous. And, that Call of the Muse card is just the urge to create, like I said. So, a lot of you, it's like there might be some spontaneous opportunities for you to create things in your life, and I would just do it. The Knight of Wands encourages you to be spontaneous. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this love card and this cleansing card. Yeah, if you are attracting a connection, it could be a very healing connection. I've talked about this before. I know it doesn't seem like it. If you watch TikTok, for example, which might as well be called toxic relationship social media, but in Instagram as well, right? But I know it doesn't seem like it, but I believe love is changing, and so again, it could be a lot of cleansing and things like that going on in your love life if that's what you're looking for. And this could also, obviously we're in a time where you need to follow your heart, Taurus. So anything you can do to invite the energy of love into your life more would be good. Now that doesn't have to be a person. That could be you doing a hobby that you enjoy. That could be you just loving yourself more, right? Empress. The Empress is your card, but the Empress is the card of like self-care and self-love and self-nurturing, all great things that you could be doing for yourself right now. And the more you do that, the more you glow with the Empress, right? So, the better she takes care of herself, the better of a result she gets in life. And really, that should be it for you, Taurus. Like, you should be number one in your life right now. And especially from a self-care perspective, that will help you the most. The Empress is also about abundance. And again, I have a feeling that abundance is going to be a big theme for you for a couple of years, at least, probably really like the next few years. And, it's just probably something that you're going to be focusing on, right? And I feel there's amazing energy over the next several years for you to improve your finances. So, I don't know. I think like it's a good thing for you, Taurus. You have the Knight of Swords. Again, it's funny that we have the Knight of Swords, then it comes up in the good stuff, and I said don't run away from something like an opportunity. But coming up in the good stuff, maybe it's saying that you're not going to run away, that you actually are going to charge through some sort of little fear. Again, that Wheel of Fortune is a good card, but, like I said, it can represent those tiny little fears, that kind of get in our way. And so I feel like you are going to overcome that with this card. You also have the Eight of Wands twice in this reading. Eight of Wands and the Knight of Swords is momentum. It's like things speeding up. We are definitely in a time of momentum. As a matter of fact, in the 2025 readings, I encouraged everyone to focus on doing things that build momentum in their life. Do those things that build speed and that create better results and things that carry you forward, right? And so it's an amazing time to build momentum, and that's what I feel the Eight of Wands wants. With the Empress, you have the Four of Pentacles. You have four, like I said, Four of Pentacles, it's an okay card. In the good stuff, obviously, it's better. But I feel like you are trying to create a reality with this and the Seven of Wands, which we basically talked about. We talked about you locking something in or making something more of a reality. And, the Four of Pentacles in the good stuff could be, I consider it a foundational card. So it can represent creating a solid foundation. And a lot of you definitely could be focused on that. With the Knight of Swords, you have the World. Oh, there we go. That is the card I wanted right there. So if there was one card that I really wanted to see in this reading, it would be the World. Because like I've been saying, it's like you are creating your own reality. But a card with, like, when I say something like that in a reading, the World basically says you are bringing it down to earth, which needs to happen with the Eight of Cups for sure. So very good card for you to get here, Taurus. Makes me feel a lot better about the reading. Not that it's a bad reading, I just think this makes it better. It's like you are cementing your reality. You're locking in, like I said, with that Seven of Wands, which is clearly what the Seven of Wands wants you to do. We see a lot of movement here, so any of you who are moving or thinking about moving, this could be confirmation for a move as well. With the Eight of Wands, you have the Eight of Pentacles. Yeah, time to get to work, right? So the Eight of Pentacles is straightforward, diligent work. He is basically working on one thing. He is working on those pentacles, and that's it. And that's what he is creating. And he's very focused, right? So I feel that if you're working on any projects or ideas or whatever, that this is basically saying lock in, like I've been saying the whole time with that Seven of Wands. You have this August card and this V card. It says victory in some endeavor. Yeah, if you're working on something, it might take until August for it to really take off. But, again, it'll be August before you know it, unfortunately. Time is like flying by nowadays. So, again, I would put in the work. I feel the Seven of Wands, the Eight of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, these cards are basically saying you need to lock in for the next several months at least. And, that's where success will come from. You can't make this one up. You have this Owl card that says good advice from a wise person. That's basically what we said on the King of Swords at the beginning of the reading. So, I feel for a lot of you, it would be a great time to, tap into those trusted advisors in your life. The people who have always given you good advice. I've been telling everyone, especially you Earth signs, I would say, that we need to make sure the advice we're getting, because of Saturn and Neptune and Aries, Saturn's retrograde in Pisces, Neptune will retrograde out of Pisces in the middle of this month, but it's still there. And they've both already entered into Aries. It's like we need to be careful of who we learn what from, or who teaches us what, right? There are two places people can come from, love and fear, right? We need to make sure we're listening to the people that come from expansion and love, right? Plain and simple. You have this key card that says successful outcomes to your problems. Love it. Yeah, it's a very good reading here, Taurus. You have this coins card that says money will be coming to you, obviously. Obviously, this isn't going to happen overnight. You might have to work on something till August of next year. People always say to me, I don't want to wait till August. I'm like, well, obviously, things don't happen overnight. It's like, you're going to have to put the work in. Sorry, it'll be August before you know it. And it's like, do you want to end up in the same position in August or a better position in August? So it's like, yeah, I get that we want things to happen right now. But that's not how life works, right? So, yeah, maybe it'll take till August, but it will be worth it. You have this younger woman card. It says dealings or relationships with a younger woman. I always clarify these people cards. And you have this cane card that says pay attention to your health. Yes, we definitely need to get extra rest. Like, even today, it is 9 o'clock. I am normally done with my readings by like 8 o'clock. And so I had a late night last night, so I had to sleep in, right? I'm taking care of myself. And, that's basically what we should be doing. So there you go. But this looks really good here, Taurus. I like it. So thank you for being here, and definitely enjoy your week.